Hi, my name is Corey Piper, and I appreciate you downloading this video and this training on how to keep your branding consistent across your franchise group. So, why consistent brand messaging? Well, your brand was built successfully and you want to grow that brand. And the things that made your business grow are the things that are going to make your brand grow, your franchises grow, your franchisees grow. So you want to make sure that from the very beginning, everything looks the same so that they can duplicate the success and everyone can make more money. So when it comes to your brand, one of the most important things to get right is your core values. Who are you? What do you believe? What does your business look like? What does it look like to do business with your business? These are things that you've got to get right at the beginning, and it needs to permeate in all of your videos that you create. So when defining your brand and your core values, there's three things you need to think of. First, what are your core values? What do you stand for? What do you believe in? Why do you do the things you do? But then after you get through, who you are and what you believe in, it's time to get down to the nitty-gritty. And that is what makes your company or your brand or your franchise unique. What do you do differently than the guy down the street? What makes you better? What makes you different? Why should Joe Schmuckatelli down the street choose your company to do business with as opposed to the guy down the street that does the exact same thing? These are important points, and you need to use video to differentiate yourself from every Tom, Dick, and Harry that's down the street. So it's important to differentiate yourself using your video and marketing content. And last, key messages. What do you want people to think about your business? Are you high quality? Are you budget? Are you budget friendly? Are you luxury? You need to tell people, no, you don't need to tell people. You need to show people what you're about. And people will believe it when you show it to them. So when creating a brand, there are several documents or items that you need to put in place. First, logo usage. Where does it used? How is it used? Which logo do you use when? Many companies have many different logos. Have the big full logo, the smaller logo, the truncated logo. There's several different videos all over the internet about what kind of logos and when to use them. You need to be there as well. Next is color. What colors does your logo have? What colors does your brand use in their printing? Many brands have very specific colors. Walmart's got that blue. McDonald's has that yellow. Wendy's has that red. There's a lot of different color usage, and it's always planned out in advance. After color scheme, next is typography. What fonts do you use? What kind of spacing? How close are the lines? How far apart are the letters? These are all things that need to be consistent across your entire brand. Next, tone of voice. Not necessarily the audio voice, but when you're giving information, are you sounding familiar? Are you sounding commanding, friendly, juvenile, businesslike? These are things that you need to figure out and stay consistent. Me, personally, I'm a knucklehead. I make a lot of jokes, I make funny mistakes, and I like the way they look in my videos, so I keep them there. That's kind of my brand. But when it comes to my clients, I find out exactly what works for them, what kind of message they're portraying, and we stick to that like it's gospel. And last but not least, visual elements. Do you use a lot of graphs? If you do use graphs, are they bar graphs? Are they pie graphs? Are you using emojis? Are you using, just a talking head video? What does your brand look like other than sound like? What do people think about when they think about your brand? Next, we have to train your franchises on how to adhere to the brand guidelines. And we don't want them going off all willy-nilly making PDFs and flyers and websites and all that stuff that are not consistent with your brand. They have to understand why things are the way they are and how they are to go about being consistent and within the guidelines. It's very simple, create a book, but it's still very, very important. So when it comes to getting your franchises in line with the branding, you have to train them. You have to show them exactly how it's done, and you've got to continue to show them how it's done. You tell them one time, it's not going to stick. So you have to continually give them information, continually retrain and train them so to make sure that they understand how to stay consistent with the brand, not just in the food quality or the service quality or the brand quality, but the image of it, the audio, the sound, the smell, the taste of it. And last but not least, you have to give them resources. So if they want to run commercials, they need to have commercials. If they want to run flyers at a local expo, they need to have access to those things too. It's better for you to make them for them so that they have access to them, for them to go out and try to source it themselves and screw it all up. Because we know they're going to screw it all up. So my stepdad has told me 100 different times, you always have to inspect what you expect. So you have to monitor. You need to keep an eye on what's going on. You need to keep an eye on their websites, their communications, their Instagrams, all that stuff to make sure that they are in line with your brand requirements. If you don't follow up and if you're not looking in on it, you never know if they're acting right or wrong. Kind of like kids, I think. So how do you do that? How do you look at them? Well, first of all, you got to audit. You got to go in, like I said before, you have to inspect what you expect. You got to go in, check, see what they're doing, ask them to provide things, and then just look up on them. Also, you have to have some sort of feedback mechanism in place so where if they are right, you can praise them, which is very, very important. But if they're not right, you have to have the ability to give them feedback to get them to right. All in all, it's just better to have it ready for them to go anyway. Then last but not least, there has to be penalties or some sort of way to keep people in line. If they're not representing your brand appropriately, it needs to be clear on what's going to happen and how they have to go about fixing it. But let's not concentrate so much on the penalties and let's concentrate a little bit more on the praises and how you reward them for those kind of things. Maybe give them extra content or, give them the chance to star in the content for the whole company itself or the whole franchise group. How do we achieve consistent branding? I'm glad you asked. Well, you didn't ask, but you're here, so I figured you want to know. First and foremost, digital asset management tools. You need to create a database where people can go in and download the things they need. They need to be created. And then your franchisees need to have access to those items so that they can go and grab them as they need them. Then they need the tools to get the job done right. There's lots of companies out there like Adobe, Microsoft, Google. They all have collaboration tools that allow you to all come together, communicate, ask questions, get responses, all that jazz in a pretty quick manner. So that needs to be in place for your franchisees. They need to have access to the information and they need to have access to you in case they have questions. Last, social media tools. They need access to social media tools, social media content, both images and videos and audio, all of the above, so that they can grow their businesses, which in turn grows your business. Social media brings us to the next stage. There are a lot of places that your clients or your franchisees are going to want to post content. We've got Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, TikTok. You need to have consistent branding material that is best suited for each one of those areas. Things that work on Twitter don't necessarily work on TikTok, and things that work on Instagram really don't catch attention on Pinterest. So we need to make sure that you have content that is geared towards the platform you're putting it on. Then your franchisees are going to have websites. Are you going to let them create their own websites? Are they going to branch off of your website? That plan needs to be in place, and you need to have the assets in place to give them to build it or to sign into whatever you have in place. Then you got customer interactions. When somebody goes online and says, I went to Bill Farfalarkey's Truck Exporium and damn it, they flattened all my tires. You need to have a consistent messaging and a consistent way on which you reply to that. Do you, at the company level, reply to all social media things? Or do you allow local stores or local franchises to answer those themselves? When it comes to social media, you need to have a clear message and you need to make sure that everyone adheres to it. And last, email marketing. You need to make sure that when your guys' sales are in a slump or when they got a new product rolling out, you need to make sure that your franchises have access to email marketing materials so that they can blast their communities, their personal lists, or whatever to make sure that they get the most out of what you've got going on or what's new. So we've kind of covered a lot today, and it is a lot because keeping a consistent brand is very, very important. It's not something that's taken lightly, and it's not something that's achieved easily. You need a concrete plan, you need aces in the places, and you need consistent material so that you look, feel, sound, smell, and taste exactly the same in every market that you exist in. If you're ready to get your brand consistency to the next level, if you're ready to really dig in and get high quality content that mirrors the high quality of the service or products you provide, let's talk. I can help you make sure that you look just as professional, just as polished, and just as amazing as the #1 player in your space, or I can help you keep your #1 spot there. Thanks.